I'm Phil Mackey. That's Judd Zolgad. We got Declan Goff over here, and today we try to figure out where Kirk Cousins ranks among the other starting quarterbacks in the NFL. And we've come up with sort of two different ways to play this out. Now, Judd, you have taken all the quarterbacks that the Vikings play on their schedule.
Yes.
And you have ranked Kirk Cousins there, correct?
Yes. Yep. So I rank 13, and then Cousins makes 14.
And Declan and I have taken the quarterbacks in the NFL beyond the Vikings schedule, so all of the quarterbacks, and we have different tiers and where we think Kirk Cousins rank. Let's start with Judd because he's got the list of the Vikings schedule. Where does Kirk Cousins rank among quarterbacks on the Vikings schedule?
Okay, so I'll work backwards here, and I've broken this down into 4 tiers in my categories, okay? So I'm going to go backwards from who I consider to be the least formidable to the best quarterbacks.
Okay.
The first list is the bring 'em on list, which means
you did the same thing I did.
Would love to,
I labeled my tiers.
Would love to face you. The bring 'em on list. Let's go. 3 quarterbacks fall into that category for me that the Vikings are going to face in 2020. One is Nick Foles, who's going to win that job. Mitch Trubisky's going to lose that job.
What's do you think out of training camp?
Yes. Yeah, I think it's going to be
the prudent play for the Bears.
I think I think Ryan Pace might lose his job regardless, but if he sticks with Trubisky, it's going to be Ponder-like, and it's just going to be a complete disaster. That's not to say that Mitch Trubisky won't eventually catch on somewhere else and maybe get an opportunity, but I think he's done in Chicago. And Nick Foles, as a Philadelphia Eagle, at times is very scary, but you take him out of the Eagles jersey, and he doesn't really scare me. So there's no way that I can put him in this, he might be. No, he's not.
It is a Superman Clark Kent thing. Like, you put him in an Eagles jersey, whether Chip Kelly's the coach or it doesn't really matter.
Yep.
And he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks apparently in the NFL. You put him anywhere else and he's just a disaster.
Exactly. So Nick Foles is one of 3 in my bring him on category. My second one is Gardner Minshew of Jacksonville, who he might be fine.
You're tempting fate there, man.
I don't know, but yeah, he's got the porn stash. He just doesn't scare me yet. And you know what? Jacksonville doesn't scare me either. Like, Jacksonville's just not a good team. I don't think they're well coached. I think they're just dysfunctional. And Gardner Minshew ended up being better than Nick Foles, but he sort of got thrown in, and now there's going to be pressure to start from day one. God bless him. He might be great, but he's not great now. Bring him on. And my third one, and this is going to hurt Phil Mackey quite a bit because it's his guy, Phillip Rivers is in my bring him on category.
You know, he
got the new arm.
In defense of Phillip Rivers.
Go ahead.
He's not throwing 5 picks every game, okay? There's still a little magic left in that.
There's only like 3 or 4 picks.
He's diet Brett Favre, okay?
Yeah.
He can.
But did you see the ball fluttering? It's like, dude, get out of the game.
Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl.
I know,
with the ball
and what did I say?
You hate fluttering football.
Get out of the game.
You can't stand it.
Get out.
Declan's right. Tom Brady throws a fluttering football.
Yeah.
Some of the go back and watch some of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. A lot of them throw fluttering footballs.
Okay. But at the end, Peyton, for who Peyton was, Peyton didn't ever really have like a gun for an arm. But at the end in Denver, it just hurt me to watch. And that team was great defensively.
That's your problem.
And there were a lot of quarterbacks that you could have plugged in and could have won there with that defense. Maybe even Kirk Cousins. I don't know. But anyway, so my bring 'em on categories: Nick Foles, Gardner Minshew, Phillip Rivers.
Okay.
My next category, working my way upwards again, is scary but not elite. So I respect these guys, but they haven't moved into what you could even consider to be a Fleckonian elite category yet. Teddy Bridgewater is there. Now, he might go up this list, but he hasn't started consistently for a season in how long now, since his time with the Vikings. He played well in a place of Drew Brees when given the opportunity, and I like him a lot. But I don't know what to make of him yet, and I think it's going to be very interesting now, gentlemen, to see him playing a full 16-game, knock on wood for his sake, schedule. And so I'm putting him in the scary but not elite category. I'm putting him in the category that I'm also going to put in, and he probably moved down a notch, and he's still good, Matthew Stafford. I think Matthew Stafford's a very solid quarterback. Do I consider him to be in the elite class? No, probably not.
I actually had a conversation. I have a friend who does sports radio in Detroit on the ticket, he did until like a few weeks ago, and Entercom had some layoffs as well. But he said, because I always figured, they like Matthew Stafford, right? It's not Matthew Stafford's fault that the Lions aren't good. It's like everything but Matthew Stafford. No, a lot of Lions fans were just apoplectic that they didn't draft Tua when they had a top 5 pick, even though Matthew Stafford's their guy.
Those fans were right.
I don't know if I disagree. Like,
those fans were 100% right. Can you, as a Viking fan, a Viking follower, how much juicier, and if you're a Vikings fan, how much more concerned would you be today if they had pulled the trigger on Tua? Now, Jeff Okudah might be a great Hall of Fame defensive back, cornerback, But if they had Tua in the wings,
yeah, I think,
come on.
it wouldn't be the immediate 2020 impact that would scare you, but I think you're looking at the NFC North right now, and the Bears quarterback situation, as always, is up in flux. The Packers quarterback situation, I don't even think is in flux. I think Aaron Rodgers is gone after like the next year, and so it's like they just expedited Aaron Rodgers' exit. And if the Detroit Lions would have drafted Tua, you'd feel like, oh, can you just get away from like?
Right.
I think he's going to be awesome if he stays healthy. And so, like, there's some people that might say pump the brakes, but you may have dodged a bullet there. If Aaron Rodgers is out of your division, and if the Bears quarterback situation is in flux and Matt Stafford's the only certain thing, then I think you feel pretty good about that.
So again, my second part of this list, scary but not elite, Bridgewater, Stafford, my third guy. And I don't think he's going to be bad in 2020. I think he'll probably take a step back. And we've been talking about this team taking a step back, Ryan Tannehill. He definitely does not frighten me. I think he could win the game for him. And I think
a weird pop-up season.
Yeah, but I got to see more. And again, Tennessee just feels like a team that we're going to be at 9 weeks into the 2020 season, and they're going to have like 3 or 4 wins.
Ryan Tannehill, I have all this in front of me. Ryan Tannehill was top 3 in Pro Football Focus rating in 2020. He completed 70% of his passes, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 9.6 yards per attempt, which blew away the rest of the league.
Yeah.
And his traditional passer rating, was number 1 in the NFL.
Is that sustainable?
Drew Brees and Lamar Jackson.
Is that just...
Yeah, didn't he only throw like 12 times a game?
He definitely didn't throw 12. As much as like a Drew Brees.
Right.
But I think
I don't buy it.
I don't think that is sustainable. But is he all of a sudden going to drop off and be garbage? I think he's probably going to settle into like just a good, solid, the 13th best quarterback in the NFL at worst.
I don't think that Ryan Tannehill's ever going to scare you.
And even though he put up those numbers last year, he wasn't scary. He was still Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, exactly. And my last guy on this list, as far as the 13 quarterbacks the Vikings are scheduled to face in 2020, is a guy who, like Stafford, is coming down that list, Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan was in one of my 2 close to elite categories at one time, but he's just not now. And so Bridgewater, Stafford, Tannehill, Matt Ryan, I deem scary, but not elite.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you where I put Cousins after I'm done going
through
the rest of these guys, because it's going to keep what's huge suspense right now on this podcast. My next list is close but. And so my final list is going to be just flat out Flaconian elite quarterbacks. So this is close but. So they're close, but they're not there yet.
Okay.
And this list this gets a little dicey. This gets a little surprising, because there were definitely some formerly elite quarterbacks who I've got to drop just a little bit for now. I'm going to start with the guy in Tampa Bay, Tom Brady. I don't know that, and Phil, we've talked about this quite a bit since he signed with the Bucs. I mean, this should be great fun, and he might have the Favre 2009 Vikings season, but there have definitely been signs. I mean, this is an old man now. He's 43 or going to be?
Yep.
So this is, Favre was 39 and turned 40 in October of 2009. Tom Brady's well past that. And there just comes a time, I mean, it's sad, but Brady appears very intent on falling off the cliff and us seeing it. And so at his age and with where things stand and his play last year with the Patriots, I can't definitively say that I think that this guy is going to have this just unbelievable season. So he's in my close but.
It's such unprecedented territory. There's only like 4 or 5 guys ever over the age of 40 that have put up like big numbers to where you would say, okay, that's a franchise leading quarterback. One of them is Brett Favre with the Vikings. I think Vinny Testaverde had a big season when he was 40 years old.
And he was Vinny Testaverde, so it wasn't really sad.
With the Vikings, but
Brady is very much telling us that I'm going to be the car that rolls and then blows up 6 times, because you're going to see it. Like, you are going to see there's going to be, and it might be 2020, it might be 21, I don't know when, but Brady's intent on blowing up. It's going to get, at some point, it's going to get really bad.
Yeah, he's not stepping away with self-awareness until it's too late.
Like,
or an injury.
I think he has great pride, but the year he goes completely off the cliff is going to be pathetic to watch, and so there will be no pride there.
Yeah, okay.
So he's in my close but. I've got 3 quarterbacks here. My second close but, Aaron Rodgers right now. Here's the weird question.
Yeah, him and Brady are kind of in this, not the same guys they were a few years ago.
And my Rodgers question is this one. I don't I think the Packers not drafting a receiver when 35 or 36 were taken is absolutely crazy. I think their Packers approach seems very odd. Are the Packers 1,000% in the wrong here definitively? I don't know that. I don't like how they're going about their business, but
I think
are they seeing what we're seeing and they're like, oh my God?
I think they're in the I think they're in the wrong, and there's two parts to this. Are they in the wrong for drafting the next quarterback in general? No, I don't think so. Are they in the wrong for reaching and trading up for a red flag and project quarterback when you had all these weapons that you could have drafted potentially to put around a guy that isn't the same Aaron Rodgers as 5 years ago, but is still a really, really good quarterback that can still win you a Super Bowl. So I think they're in the wrong.
But and I agree with what you're saying, but did Matt LaFleur also watch this guy for a year and say, oh my God?
Okay, but we are literally watching a documentary every Sunday night right now on ESPN about the 1998 Bulls and a general manager that was trigger happy to get to the next thing. All right, we got to be done with this coach. And like, if Michael wants to come back, that's fine, but he's going to have to play. Like, he was trigger happy to blow up a dynasty. Was Michael Jordan the same player in 98 that he was in 1992? No, he wasn't. But he was still Michael bleeping Jordan. Why are you actively looking to blow up an unprecedented stretch of quarterback play if you're the Packers?
But Jerry Krause,
I mean, good for the Vikings fans.
Jerry Krause, the Bulls GM back then, was clearly upset that he was not being given credit at that time. I guess the one question I've got about LaFleur is, did he bring in a fresh set of eyes? And instead of being like, oh, this is great, Aaron is still great, and Mike McCarthy was wrong, because I do think that there was definitely friction between Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers. Did Matt LaFleur come in as a fresh set of eyes, watch Aaron and say, oh boy? Now, I don't know. I tend to agree with what you're saying, but I guess the reason why I can't put Aaron in the elite category now is just the percent chance that he has definitely taken a step back. And then my close butt, and you could debate this as being too high, but I just like this guy, and I think he was somewhat a victim of poor coaching last year, is Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott's a really damn good quarterback.
There's another level there for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
And so I think he is probably, while Brady and Rodgers have descended from elite to close butt, Prescott's probably, in my mind, going up. And so I'm not going to put him in the scary but not elite. I'm putting him in the close butt. And then my final three, elite. I put Drew Brees. Might be too high, but I still think he's fantastic.
I agree.
Elite, Deshaun Watson. He's going to be a nightmare to play against. And, of course, the guy that beats the Vikings in the state of Washington whenever they play a primetime game, Russell Wilson.
So where does Kirk rank?
So I put Kirk in the scary but not elite.
So how many guys are above him on the Vikings schedule?
So elite, 3 quarterbacks, close butt 3. And then I put Kirk in the same ranking with Bridgewater, Stafford, Tannehill, Matt Ryan.
So
I think that's very fair.
All right. So now Declan and I are going to go through we have done just like the general NFL tiers.
Yeah.
And we probably have a different spin on this. But I'm gonna fly through my tiers and tell you where Kirk is on my list.
Okay.
I'll start at the top. I have a Pat Mahomes tier.
Yes.
That includes Pat Mahomes.
Yep. I'm in lockstep with you.
He's just in his own atmosphere.
I'm with you.
And there are no quarterbacks that are as good as him.
Who's the closest to that?
Russell Wilson.
Okay.
So tier 1 for me starts after the Pat Mahomes stratosphere, and that would be Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, and Deshaun Watson. I've got those 3 guys in my tier 1.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have a Lamar Jackson tier that's below tier 1 because I'm not ready to put him in a Russell Wilson, Drew Brees category or Pat Mahomes category, but he's definitely elevated above everybody else that's coming on this list. Because I still think there's a chance that the league could figure out a little bit how to stop his running game, and like he needs another prove it year before I put him in that list.
Was going to be unstoppable, and suddenly he became pretty stoppable.
Like I need with the other guys on this list, Pat Mahomes has proved it over a couple years, and he's won a Super Bowl. Russell Wilson, Drew Brees have done it over long stretches, and I think maybe I'm a little early on Deshaun Watson here. I think Deshaun Watson to me is a little bit above. This might sound crazy, Lamar Jackson, but that's just my opinion. Mm-hmm. Then I've got the old Hall of Famers tier, which includes Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Ben Roethlisberger, who we all forgot about because he was hurt last year.
Have him on my list.
Did you see Jay Glazer's comments about Roethlisberger?
No.
He said something about someone said something to Glazer of Fox Sports about Roethlisberger staying in shape, and Jay's comment was like, "We can't call that staying in shape."
Yeah.
He does. I think his comment was he he does yoga and then goes and drinks beer. I mean, God
Same.
bless Ben Roethlisberger.
He's Rami Macloff.
He's Rami and
He
Declan.
might be Judd as well.
I'm Diet Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, except you're thin. He's not in shape.
Diet Ben Roethlisberger.
So when you got 2 rings and you make $20 million a year, $30 million a year,
Amen.
you can do yoga and drink beer if you
That's
want
right.
to. So that's my old Hall of Fame tier: Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger. Then I've got just reliable guys in their prime tier. Okay, that's where I have Kirk Cousins.
So I knew you'd have Kirk Cousins there, and that's fair.
Reliable guys in their prime.
All
They're
right.
not immediate Hall of Fame candidates. They've got flaws, but they're gonna throw for 4,000 yards, and like they're not gonna train wreck it for a season for you. Okay, so Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott, who I think both those guys could move up. Matt Ryan, who's kind of moving down but still in this list. Kirk Cousins and Matthew Stafford. I've got those 5 guys, reliable, still in their prime. Matt Ryan's toward the back end of his prime. Then I've got the could go either way tier. They could elevate to reliable, or they could go back to being something less than reliable.
Gotcha.
Ryan Tannehill, Jimmy Garoppolo, Derek Carr, and Jared Goff on this list. They've all shown flashes.
They're roller coasters.
They've all been train wrecks at times.
Go through that list again.
Ryan Tannehill, Jimmy Garoppolo, Derek Carr, and Jared Goff.
Okay.
Now, you could say Cousins might even fit more with some of those than like the Dak Prescott, Matt Ryan. So he's kind of on the verge of maybe between both those categories.
So of those 4 that you just read, how many are we still undecided on? Like Jared Goff, I can't tell you right now.
I'm undecided on all 4 of those guys.
Yeah,
that's why they're in that category.
Which is why I think Cousins doesn't belong there, because I very much know who Kirk is.
Yep.
So I think it's very fair not to put him in, because like Garoppolo could take a step and shoot way up your rankings. Jared Goff could too. But to me, a guy like Jared Goff could just as easily fall down.
Yep. Cousins is...
I think I know who Kirk is.
Cousins is going to throw for 300 yards and a couple of touchdowns, and he's going to help you win a noon game against the Jaguars and the Titans. Like, he's going to play really well at US Bank Stadium, except for the one time a year when you have that Bills game. And then he's going to be very coin flippy in key moments. Like, we kind of know who he is, right? All right. Then my last category, and then everybody else that's not in these categories to me is just like, I don't care. Just a complete afterthought.
Garbage,
right?
basically.
Or they're rookies and like whatever.
Yeah.
Young with upside.
Okay.
Teddy Bridgewater, who's still only like 25,
26,
26 somewhere.
And hasn't started in years.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Yep.
Kyler Murray.
Yep.
Sam Darnold.
Yep.
And that's it. And Tua. I put Tua in
so
that
no
category
Baker Mayfield.
Honestly, I think Baker Mayfield is a bust. I think Baker Mayfield is mostly hype, and I think he's one of the least emotionally intelligent quarterbacks in the NFL. I do not think Baker Mayfield will be a starting quarterback in 2 years from now.
I will say this. I am curious to see what Kevin Stefanski and his staff can do with the kid.
I'm curious to see what Kevin Stefanski can do with another quarterback. That's what I'd like to see Kevin Stefanski with an actual leader at that position.
I'm not as out as you are yet on Baker. Like, I think what you're saying is probably largely correct, but I give him one more year. I'm pretty convinced that Mitch Trubisky sucks. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I just think he's bad.
Pretty convinced?
Well, I'm just saying, I think he sucks.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I think he's bad.
No, for
but
me,
like,
not.
if you gave me a draft of these quarterbacks who are at the end of your list or don't make it, I would take Baker Mayfield pretty high, because I think that there's a possibility there. With like Trubisky, I just think it was just a terrible pick. It's ponder way too high.
What are your tiers, Declan?
All right, so I'm almost very similar to you, Phil. I have tier 1 as MVP, and it's just Patrick Mahomes. He's in a league of his own, so he's tier 1. Then I have tier 2, which is elite, and that's where I have Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, Deshaun Watson, and I have Lamar Jackson in there.
And Joe Flacco.
I was a big Flacco guy in 2012. 2012, Declan would have put him in elite category for sure. Tier 3, I have talented, and this is where it gets really a little sticky, and we can debate a little bit here, but talented is Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, Matt Stafford, Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, Jimmy G.
Okay.
Now, guys like Dak and Jimmy G, I think have the capabilities to rise to the elite category.
Dak could very easily be one of the once like Brady and Rodgers retire, I could see Dak with like 3 years and Mike McCarthy under his belt being in the 5 best quarterbacks category in the NFL. Like, I could see it.
I think guys like Rodgers, Ryan, Stafford, and even Cousins they won't be able to get to the next step. Rodgers and Ryan being their best days are behind them. Kirk, we know who he is. He won't take that next step. But I think Kirk Cousins belongs in the tier of quarterbacks like Rodgers, Ryan, Stafford, Cousins, and Jimmy G and Stafford. I think they all belong in that same tier.
Okay.
There's a couple that might be better than Kirk Cousins, but I don't think the change is that big of a difference.
Okay,